A soldier returns home with his loyal military dog after years away, only to discover strange red marks spreading over his 8-year-old daughter's arms. At first, Logan Hartley assumes they're just ordinary rashes, until his daughter June whispers fearfully about mysterious voices beneath her pillow at night. Logan quickly realizes this is something far worse than he ever imagined. Determined to protect his daughter at all costs, Logan and his faithful dog, Ranger, uncover a chilling secret hidden within the small town of Elkhorn. The truth leads them straight to Echoline Biogen, a ruthless organization performing sinister genetic experiments. Experiments linked tragically to Logan's own past and his late wife, Sarah. As danger closes in, Logan must risk everything, including his own life, to stop the nightmare and save his daughter before it's too late. The late autumn wind had a bitter chill as it whistled through the pines lining the roads leading into Elkhorn, Montana. This quiet town, nestled within shadowed mountain slopes, seemed barely touched by time. The low sunlight scattering soft gold across rooftops, dusted lightly by the season's first snowfall. The smell of burning firewood hung in the crisp air, offering a subtle warmth against the encroaching cold. Logan "Buck" Hartley eased his battered black pickup truck along the familiar winding roads. At 42, he was ruggedly built, a powerful frame shaped by 2 decades of military service. Broad shoulders supported his worn camo jacket, beneath which rested taut muscles bearing scars from distant battlefields. His dark brown hair was streaked generously with silver, cropped close, complementing a neatly trimmed beard that framed a stern yet gentle face. Logan's piercing gray-blue eyes always seemed alert, attuned to any subtle shift in his surroundings, habits formed from years of vigilance and survival. Beside him, quietly sitting upright, was Ranger, a 7-year-old Belgian Malinois. Ranger's sharp ears stood tall, alert to every rustle or distant sound. His fur, deep brown and black, had grown slightly rougher over the years, flecked now with faint streaks of gray around his muzzle and paws. His intense amber eyes mirrored Logan's, filled with fierce intelligence and unwavering loyalty. Ranger had been Logan's steadfast partner through countless high-risk missions, the bond between them forged in fire and proven unbreakable. As they reached the edge of town, Logan felt the tension ease slightly from his shoulders. The quiet houses, small cafes, and old-fashioned storefronts felt unchanged. Yet within him, a restless anxiety lingered. It had been nearly 6 years since he'd seen his daughter, June, a separation dictated by deployment and tragedy. Pulling into the driveway of the weathered farmhouse where his late wife's sister now lived, Logan killed the engine. The silence afterward felt charged, heavy with uncertainty. Logan stepped out, his boots crunching gently over the frosted gravel. Ranger followed, movements graceful yet protective as always, senses scanning every detail of their surroundings. The farmhouse door creaked open hesitantly, revealing Marion Hartley. At 35, Marion was slender, almost fragile in appearance. Pale blonde hair pulled into a tight bun accentuated her sharp, angular face, and her soft green eyes seemed perpetually shadowed by quiet worry. She was dressed simply, a faded cardigan hugging her slight frame. Marion had always been a reserved woman, quietly compassionate yet burdened by loss. The passing of her sister had marked her deeply, turning a once open heart more cautious and guarded. "Logan." Marion's voice was quiet, tinged with nervousness, though a faint smile softened her expression. "Marion," Logan replied, offering a gentle nod. "It's good to see you." "You too." "June is inside," she said, stepping aside. Logan noticed her eyes shifting uneasily toward Ranger, and the subtle tightening of her posture told him she wasn't entirely comfortable. But Marion said nothing further, quietly ushering him indoors. The house smelled faintly musty, curtains drawn partially closed, allowing limited daylight. The living room felt strangely hollow, sparsely furnished, save for a shelf displaying faded photographs, images of happier times. Logan's gaze lingered momentarily on a picture of his late wife Sarah, her cheerful smile and vibrant eyes frozen in a moment he desperately wished he could relive. June sat at the dining table, seemingly absorbed in a small drawing book. She was 8 years old, slender and delicate, her honey blonde hair tied loosely back, allowing a few stray curls to fall gently around her pale face. Her wide, expressive hazel eyes flicked upward at the sound of footsteps, but there was no immediate spark of recognition or excitement. Instead, she stared uncertainly, almost cautiously, her small hands gripping tightly onto colored pencils. "Hey, sweetheart," Logan said softly, kneeling down to her level. He smiled gently, the gruff soldier replaced instantly by a tender father. "Remember me?" June nodded hesitantly, not smiling, but quietly appraising him as if uncertain how she was supposed to respond. Her cautiousness tore at Logan's heart, sharper than he expected. Ranger approached quietly, placing his large head gently near June's small hand. She flinched briefly, but then slowly stroked his fur, the tension in her shoulders easing somewhat. Logan watched carefully, relieved at this small connection, though troubled by her unusual quietness. As she reached forward to pet Ranger more freely, Logan's eyes caught something unusual: small, reddish marks scattered across the delicate skin of June's forearm. His stomach tightened, instantly alert. These weren't ordinary scratches or insect bites. They appeared strange, unnatural, faintly inflamed. "What happened to your arm, June?" Logan asked gently, fighting to keep his voice calm. June quickly withdrew her arm, pulling her sleeve down protectively. Her eyes shifted nervously toward Marion, then quickly away. "Just scratches," she mumbled faintly, avoiding his gaze. Her demeanor abruptly closed off again, retreating further into silence. Marion cleared her throat anxiously, stepping forward to divert Logan's attention. "June, why don't you show your dad your drawings?" Logan remained still, the soldier in him now awake and unsettled. He'd been trained to recognize discomfort and dishonesty. June's behavior was not mere shyness, it was fear. He didn't press immediately, though every instinct screamed something was deeply wrong. Marion avoided meeting his questioning eyes, focusing instead on preparing tea in the kitchen. Logan felt a familiar surge of frustration. He had returned hoping to find solace and reconnect with his daughter, not unravel a new mystery. Yet, clearly June needed his help protection. And if protecting his child required another battle, so be it. He forced a reassuring smile and nodded slowly. "Sure, sweetheart. I'd love to see your drawings." June hesitated, then finally opened her notebook. Logan's heart tightened again. Her drawings weren't childish sketches of flowers or animals. They depicted unsettling shapes, deep red blotches that spread across pale paper, chaotic and almost menacing. "What are these, June?" he asked softly, his voice gentle but firmly demanding truth. She whispered so quietly he had to lean close to hear. "The whispers. They come out at night." Logan suppressed a chill running down his spine. Marion hovered anxiously nearby, her posture rigid with tension. Ranger, sensing Logan's agitation, moved closer protectively, amber eyes sharply fixed upon Marion. Something in this house was terribly wrong. Logan could feel it deeply, a quiet dread swelling in his chest, yet he held back for now. He had learned long ago to trust his gut, but patience was essential. He needed facts first, clear answers. Logan carefully took June's small hand, holding it protectively. Her tiny fingers trembled slightly, and his resolve hardened. No matter what darkness awaited him in Elkhorn, he vowed silently, June would not face it alone. He had fought wars overseas to protect strangers. Now he would fight an unseen enemy closer than ever before. Logan glanced out the window toward the quiet town bathed in the cold afternoon sun. Elkhorn looked peaceful, idyllic, yet it now concealed something dark, something Logan would drag into the light no matter the cost. His goal had never been clearer: to protect his daughter at all costs, even if it meant facing nightmares far worse than any he'd survived on distant battlefields. Night fell swiftly over Elkhorn, Montana, cloaking the town in a silent, uneasy darkness. The house creaked gently as the temperature dropped, causing wooden beams to whisper as though sharing secrets. Logan lay restlessly on the small sofa in the living room, the rough fabric scratching against his bare arms, unable to drift into sleep. June's words had burrowed deep into his consciousness, replaying continuously in his mind like a troubling mantra. The whispers. They come out at night. Ranger lay at Logan's feet, ears flicking occasionally at distant noises, his breathing steady yet alert. Logan reached down, running his calloused fingers through Ranger's thick coat, feeling the comforting warmth beneath his hand. Sleep eluded them both, as though the very air carried an invisible threat. Just past midnight, the silence was abruptly broken by a faint sobbing from June's bedroom. Logan's instincts kicked in immediately, his muscles tightening as he rose swiftly. Ranger was already on his feet, ears erect, his amber eyes focused sharply on the dim hallway leading to June's room. Logan moved quietly, his bare feet cold against the hardwood floor. At the threshold of June's room, he hesitated briefly, pulse quickening. Inside, June sat up in bed, clutching her blankets tightly, tears streaming silently down her pale cheeks. Her golden curls were disheveled, her eyes wide with fear, staring fixedly at her pillow. Logan knelt beside her swiftly, gently wrapping an arm around her small, trembling frame. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" he whispered softly, forcing calm into his voice, though worry tightened his chest. June didn't answer immediately, instead lifting a finger shakily toward the pillow, whispering faintly, "The whispers, they're red, Daddy." Logan's heart clenched at her frightened expression. He slowly reached beneath the pillow, expecting nothing more than childish imagination. But his fingers brushed against something moving, something small and alive. He quickly withdrew his hand, inhaling sharply, as Ranger growled lowly, stepping forward defensively. Logan lifted the pillow carefully, his heart hammering as dozens of tiny crimson creatures scattered wildly, shimmering in the faint moonlight. They were no bigger than grains of rice, glistening oddly, crawling rapidly across the sheets. His stomach churned in revulsion and disbelief, his mind racing. As Logan watched, one of the creatures crawled onto June's pale wrist, quickly burrowing into a tiny red mark already present there. June whimpered softly, eyes fixed in horror. Ranger snarled suddenly, hackles rising, eyes locked onto the darkest corner of the room as though sensing something else, something familiar yet horrifying. Logan followed Ranger's gaze, but saw only darkness, shadows shifting subtly in the dim light. The dog's agitation brought Logan sharply back to memories he desperately tried to bury. Dark memories of battlefields and secretive military experiments involving a substance known as echo serum. He quickly scooped June into his arms, moving her away from the bed. "Stay right here," he instructed gently but firmly, setting her down on a nearby chair. She nodded tearfully, eyes wide with trust and terror. Logan turned back, jaw set firmly, and grabbed the corner of the mattress, pulling it free. His breath caught sharply. Beneath lay a small syringe, needle glinting ominously in the faint light, nearly invisible among the sheets. Logan's hands shook slightly as he picked it up, his blood running cold. It was empty, except for faint traces of a familiar, vivid red fluid clinging stubbornly inside Echo Serum. Ranger had grown increasingly tense, now pacing back and forth, ears pinned back, the low rumble in his chest never ceasing. Logan knew this reaction, had seen it before in a remote lab overseas. Moments before a devastating explosion had killed half his squad. The serum, engineered to create near superhuman resilience in soldiers, had catastrophic side effects. Ranger had barely survived. Logan had carried deep scars ever since. This night felt dangerously similar. Movement from the doorway snapped Logan's attention back. Marion stood there, pale and shaking, a thin nightgown hanging loosely from her thin frame. Her eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of fear and guilt. "What is this, Marion?" Logan demanded quietly, voice hard, barely controlling the anger surging through him. Marion took a shaky step backward, her hands trembling. I didn't know," she whispered, voice cracking. "They told me it was harmless. A treatment for nightmares. I never thought—" She covered her mouth with a trembling hand, tears starting to spill over her pale cheeks. "Forgive me." Logan forced down his immediate anger, studying Marion carefully. Fear radiated from her in palpable waves. Whatever she'd believed, she clearly hadn't intended harm. He took a deep breath, attempting to regain control. "Who are they?" he asked steadily, voice low and dangerous. Marion hesitated, glancing nervously toward the hallway as if fearing unseen eyes. "Biotech specialists. From Echo Line. They said they'd helped others. Soldiers, children. That June's nightmares would stop." Logan's jaw tightened, fists clenching at his sides. Echo Line, the same clandestine organization behind the disastrous experiments overseas. The realization filled him with dread. His voice was calm but lethal. "How long has this been happening?" Marion sobbed quietly, lowering her gaze in shame. 6 months. The serum seemed harmless at first, but June kept getting worse. They promised she'd improve. Logan stepped forward suddenly, cutting her off with a swift gesture. "Pack a bag for June." "We're leaving immediately." Marion nodded rapidly, stepping aside, shaking. Logan gently lifted June, cradling her protectively. Ranger followed close behind, alert and tense. As Logan approached the living room, headlights briefly illuminated the window. A vehicle idled quietly outside, engine softly rumbling. Logan's pulse quickened, senses instantly on high alert. He peered cautiously through the window blinds. A tall, thin man stepped from the dark SUV. Logan recognized him instantly. Dr. Malcolm Pierce, a former military scientist known for ruthless efficiency. His silver hair neatly combed, glasses glinting coldly beneath the porch light. Pierce was known for his chilling detachment, precisely the sort of man behind something as sinister as Echo Serum. Pierce surveyed the house carefully, an unreadable expression on his gaunt face. Logan drew back slowly, heart pounding. Ranger growled again, deeper now, eyes blazing with recognition and rage. The dog remembered him too. Marion returned silently, her eyes widened in horror as she noticed Pierce. "He's here," she breathed, fear choking her words. Logan steadied himself quickly, calculating rapidly. "Take June out the back door. Go through the woods. Head to old Jim's cabin. Wait there." His voice left no room for debate. Marion nodded shakily, taking June into her arms. The little girl clung to Logan briefly, whispering, "Daddy, be careful." His heart tightened painfully. "I'll find you soon," he promised, gently stroking her hair. "I swear it." As they disappeared into the darkness outside, Logan turned grimly back toward the front door, where Pierce now knocked quietly, insistently. Ranger positioned himself beside Logan, body taut with readiness. Logan slowly opened the door, forcing an expressionless calm he didn't feel. Pierce smiled faintly, eyes gleaming with cold amusement. "Hello, Sergeant Hartley. It's been a long time." Logan didn't answer, simply stepped forward, blocking entry. Ranger snarled softly, a warning unmistakably clear. Pierce remained unmoved, adjusting his glasses coolly. "I believe we have business to discuss. Your daughter is a very special little girl." Logan's voice was quiet steel, unwavering. "Stay away from my family, Pierce." Pierce tilted his head, still smiling coldly. "I'm afraid it's too late for that. June is already part of something far greater, something unstoppable." Logan clenched his fists tightly, determination igniting fiercely in his chest. Whatever dark secrets Pierce brought with him, Logan would face head-on. He had no other choice. The first dim glow of dawn seeped through the trees as Logan moved silently around the back of Marion's farmhouse, breath forming soft clouds in the chill. After his encounter with Dr. Malcolm Pierce, he'd barely slept, restless anxiety gnawing at his mind. Pierce's cold, emotionless words had unsettled him profoundly, igniting a fierce urgency to uncover the truth. The farmyard was silent, cloaked in morning mist, its edges blurred by the low-hanging clouds rolling from the Montana mountains. Logan pulled his jacket tighter, scanning his surroundings carefully before approaching the garbage bins behind the old wooden shed. Ranger shadowed him closely, footsteps muted, eyes intensely alert. The garbage cans were large, metallic, battered from use, coated with patches of rust. Logan lifted the heavy lid cautiously, its hinges squealing quietly in protest. Beneath the layer of ordinary household trash food wrappers, empty cans, discarded papers, lay a suspiciously clean cardboard box, partially concealed, yet distinctly separate from the mess. Pulling it free, Logan's breath quickened at the unmistakable logo printed prominently across the package, Echoline Biogen. A cold wave of dread washed over him, confirming his worst fears. Marion had known more than she'd admitted. Inside the box, Logan found only empty syringes, neatly aligned plastic vials, and a small folded document. He unfolded the paper with trembling fingers, revealing a typed instruction sheet bearing Echoline's official emblem. Subject JH, dosage weekly, monitor sleep patterns and temperature closely. Report side effects promptly. Logan's jaw tightened. June's initials left no doubt she had been deliberately targeted. He pocketed the instruction sheet, eyes scanning quickly for anything further. At the bottom, printed neatly, he noticed the supervising contact. Dr. Ezra Cole. The name was familiar, yet distant. Ezra Cole was the old veterinarian who had tended animals in Elkhorn for decades, a quiet man living alone near the edge of town. Logan remembered him vaguely from childhood, a gruff figure who kept mostly to himself, rarely interacting with townsfolk. Before Logan could consider his next step, Marion appeared abruptly at the back porch. She stood uncertainly, wrapped in a thin woolen shawl, eyes shadowed from sleeplessness and guilt. "Logan, please let me explain," she called softly, voice shaking. "They lied to me. I never meant to harm June." Logan regarded her silently for a long moment, feeling the weight of her remorse. Finally, he sighed, his anger tempered by exhaustion. "Tell me everything." Marion approached slowly, eyes lowered in shame. "They approached me months ago," she began haltingly. "After Sarah died. You were overseas. I was overwhelmed. June's nightmares were relentless. Pierce offered a solution echo lines treatment. Harmless, he said, just mild sedation with biological supplements. Her voice cracked bitterly. I trusted him. Logan softened slightly, seeing Marion's genuine despair. Her mistake was born of grief and desperation. Still, his protective anger remained. Why Ezra Cole? What does he have to do with this? Marion shook her head helplessly. Pierce never explained. Cole just delivered the packages. I was instructed to leave June's window unlocked at night. They'd administer treatments quietly. It seemed safe until June started getting sick, Logan finished grimly. Marion nodded tearfully, shoulders trembling. I wanted to stop, but Pierce threatened me, said if I exposed them, they'd take her away. Logan's eyes hardened dangerously, anger flaring anew. No one is taking June anywhere, he growled, voice low and firm. From inside the house came a faint cry. Marion's eyes widened in panic and they rushed indoors together. June lay restlessly on the couch, cheeks flushed crimson, blonde curls damp with sweat. Logan pressed a gentle hand to her forehead, heart pounding, her temperature had spiked dangerously. June's tired eyes fluttered open briefly, looking at Logan weakly. Daddy, I'm hot, she murmured faintly. Logan nodded gently, offering a reassuring smile he didn't feel. Rest, sweetheart. I'll fix this. He turned swiftly toward Marion. Stay with her. Keep her cool. I'm going to find Cole. Without waiting for Marion's reply, Logan strode purposefully out the door. Ranger trotted silently alongside him, keenly alert. The drive to Ezra Cole's isolated cabin took mere minutes, though it felt like hours. Ezra's property lay secluded near thick woodland, accessible only by an overgrown gravel path. The cabin itself was small, weather-beaten, surrounded by neglected animal enclosures, old fences leaning at weary angles. Logan parked swiftly, stepping out cautiously. Ranger immediately sniffed the air, ears alert, nose twitching. Approaching the cabin door, Logan knocked firmly. Moments passed silently before footsteps shuffled within. The door creaked open slowly, revealing Dr. Ezra Cole. Cole was nearly 70, stooped slightly with age, his white hair disheveled, stubble lining his weathered jaw. Dark, deeply set eyes regarded Logan warily through thick, wire-rimmed glasses. His clothes were threadbare, and his hands trembled slightly, a quiet, tired man worn down by isolation. Ezra, Logan began carefully, voice even. I need answers. June Hartley is sick. Echoline's treatments, you're involved. Ezra regarded him silently for a long moment, tension tightening his gaunt features. Finally, he nodded slowly, stepping aside. Come in. Inside, the cabin was cluttered, filled with aged veterinary equipment, yellowed papers, dusty scientific texts stacked precariously. Logan glanced around briefly, spotting vials labeled clearly Echoline. Ezra sat heavily at a battered table, motioning Logan to join him. I wanted no part of this, Ezra admitted softly, voice gruff yet regretful. Pierce offered funding for my research, promised medical breakthroughs for the town's children. Only later I understood they were weaponizing genetic enhancements. Logan's eyes narrowed sharply. June isn't your guinea pig, she's just a child. Ezra raised weary eyes, regret etched deeply into his expression. I've made terrible mistakes, Sergeant Hartley. Echo serum was never meant for civilians. It alters the immune system, forcing unnatural resilience but causing devastating side effects. June's immune reaction is accelerating uncontrollably. Without intervention, she won't survive. Logan's heart stopped momentarily, cold dread filling him. You helped create it. You can help stop it, he demanded fiercely. Ezra nodded slowly. Perhaps. But stopping Echoline won't be easy. Pierce controls everything. If I help you, I help. They'll silence me permanently. Logan leaned forward, eyes locked firmly onto Ezra's, voice resolute. If you help save my daughter, I'll protect you. Ezra studied him carefully, then nodded decisively. Very well. Bring June tonight. There's still a chance. Outside, Ranger growled suddenly, hackles raised. Logan moved swiftly to the window, spotting Pierce's black SUV parked discreetly beyond the trees, observing. Anger surged violently in Logan's chest. Pierce had tracked him again. Ezra's eyes widened fearfully, whispering urgently, "You must hurry. Pierce knows you're here. He'll act swiftly." Logan stood, moving determinedly toward the door, Ranger close at his heels. "Be ready tonight. I'll bring June. This ends now." Ezra simply nodded gravely, eyes filled with cautious hope. Logan stepped outside into the brightening morning, heart hammering furiously. Pierce's SUV slipped silently away into the shadows, a stark reminder of the danger ahead. Logan clenched his fists tightly, fear tempered by fierce determination. June's survival depended entirely upon unraveling Echoline's dark secrets and confronting Pierce head-on. As Logan climbed back into his truck, Ranger sat alert beside him, amber eyes filled with unwavering loyalty and readiness. Together, they drove swiftly back toward town, the weight of June's life hanging urgently over every decision Logan made. The battle he'd hoped never to fight again was now inevitable, one he would face without hesitation, for June. Twilight deepened quickly over Elkhorn, casting long shadows across the fields as Logan sped back towards the farmhouse. The wind whipped cold against his windshield, echoing the storm of thoughts swirling inside his mind. Beside him, Ranger sat tense and vigilant, eyes narrowed and alert, muscles rippling beneath his thick coat. Logan gripped the wheel tighter, feeling the pressure of time closing in relentlessly. June's fever was spiking dangerously, and Dr. Ezra Cole was waiting possibly their last hope of unraveling Echoline's lethal grip. As Logan's truck pulled onto the familiar gravel driveway, Ranger's ears perked sharply, his body suddenly rigid with anticipation. Logan barely had time to park before the dog leaped from the cab, barking urgently, darting towards the rear of Marion's old barn. Logan followed swiftly, heart hammering. He found Ranger pawing frantically at the dusty earth near the barn's rear corner, growling insistently, clearly signaling something beneath the ground. Logan knelt quickly, brushing aside dry hay and dirt, uncovering a wooden trapdoor. It was old, warped with age, locked firmly with a rusted iron padlock. Ranger's agitation intensified, scratching and whining, drawing Logan's full attention. Without hesitation, Logan grabbed a nearby pitchfork, wedging it forcefully beneath the trapdoor. Wood splintered sharply, the aged lock giving way with a loud snap that echoed through the quiet twilight. Beneath, steep steps descended into shadow, the stale scent of mold and chemicals wafting upwards. Logan's pulse quickened. Ranger nudged impatiently, eyes blazing with determination and urgency. Trusting the dog implicitly, Logan grabbed a flashlight from his truck, descending cautiously into the hidden cellar, Ranger at his heels. Below, the air felt oppressive, thick with the scent of antiseptic and something metallic like blood. Logan's flashlight pierced the gloom, revealing rows of metal shelves lined meticulously with glass vials, each filled with a dark crimson fluid. His stomach twisted uneasily, recognizing instantly the same ominous red hue he'd found earlier echo serum. A chill raced down Logan's spine. This was no random cellar, it was a hidden laboratory. Scanning further, Logan's eyes fell upon a small, neatly organized metal table. Spread across its cold surface lay scattered paperwork. He grabbed a file, flipping urgently through detailed medical notes, diagrams, and clinical charts. His breath caught sharply when he saw a familiar set of initials boldly labeled at the top. Subject JH, age 8, accelerated adaptation, enhanced reaction to echo serum. Anger surged violently through Logan, his fists trembling slightly. His precious daughter, treated as a mere laboratory subject, her suffering meticulously recorded in clinical coldness. Each note chronicled June's increasingly volatile immune reactions, the carefully measured injections, and dangerous spikes in temperature and neurological distress. Behind him, Ranger barked sharply, spinning suddenly towards the entrance, ears pinned flat against his skull. Logan swung around, catching sight of Marion's thin figure silhouetted against the cellar doorway. She stood frozen, pale-faced, eyes wide and terrified at being discovered. Logan advanced quickly, voice dangerously low. "You knew about this," he accused harshly, shaking the damning file at her. "You lied to me!" Marion stepped back instinctively, holding up trembling hands defensively. "Logan, please, I never meant—" "Stop lying!" Logan's voice echoed sharply through the confined space, rage barely restrained. "This is Echo Line's operation. You worked for them." Marion flinched visibly, tears spilling down her pale, gaunt cheeks. Her voice broke with a desperate edge. "I did, years ago, long before Sarah's death. I was a lab technician, that's all, nothing like this. Pierce approached me later, said I owed him a favor. He promised it was harmless, a simple biological trial for insomnia. I trusted him, Logan." Logan stared at her in cold disbelief. "You trusted a monster," he spat bitterly. "You let him use June." Marion collapsed against the cellar wall, sobbing brokenly. "I'm sorry, I never intended this. But Pierce is powerful. He threatened me, threatened June. I was terrified." Logan exhaled sharply, torn between disgust and pity. Marion's frail form was visibly shaking, guilt and fear etched deeply into every feature. He turned away bitterly, frustration rising. He couldn't forgive her, but for now, she wasn't his greatest enemy. Pierce was the true threat, a cold-hearted manipulator who saw June merely as a biological asset. Ranger, growling deeply, stepped protectively between Logan and Marion, fixing Marion with unblinking amber eyes, wary and distrustful. Logan gathered the files quickly, taking one last, disgusted glance at the vials lining the shelves, his heart heavy with the horror of what he'd uncovered. Suddenly, Marion gasped softly, pointing fearfully upwards. "He's coming back," she whispered urgently. "Pierce called earlier. He suspects you know too much. Logan, he won't let any of us leave here alive." A surge of adrenaline filled Logan, and he spun quickly, making rapid decisions. "Get June, now! We're leaving for Ezra's. If Pierce tries anything, I'll handle him." Marion nodded hastily, darting away into the gathering darkness. Logan climbed from the cellar swiftly, Ranger close behind, fur bristling. Outside, dusk had deepened dramatically, stars flickering coldly overhead. Logan's heart pounded fiercely. He sprinted toward the house, adrenaline sharpening every instinct, urgency pulsing through his veins. As he rounded the corner, Pierce's sleek SUV skidded into the driveway, headlights glaring brightly, blinding Logan momentarily. Pierce emerged calmly, tall and eerily composed. Beside him stood a younger man Logan had never seen before, broad-shouldered, with cropped blonde hair, wearing tactical gear, clearly military-trained. The newcomer's eyes were cold, expression unreadable, a loyal, silent guard. "Leaving already, Sergeant Hartley?" Pierce's voice was smoothly mocking, his thin lips twisting in a cruel smile. "I believe we still have matters to discuss." Logan met his gaze defiantly, voice ice cold. "You've harmed my family enough, Pierce. Step aside." Pierce chuckled humorlessly, adjusting his glasses. "Unfortunately, June's participation is no longer voluntary. Her genetic response to Echo Serum is invaluable. We cannot afford loose ends." Logan clenched his jaw fiercely, fists tightening. "You won't touch her again." Pierce's expression darkened subtly, a dangerous glint emerging. "Bold words, but your bravery won't protect her. Echo Line will reclaim what's ours." Ranger stepped forward aggressively, baring sharp teeth, a deep, threatening snarl rumbling from his throat. Pierce hesitated slightly, eyes narrowing warily. Logan seized the moment, moving swiftly towards the house, shouting urgently for Marion and June to hurry. Marion appeared at the doorway, carrying June, who clung weakly to her shoulders, pale and exhausted. Logan hurried them toward the truck, Ranger backing slowly after, maintaining a defensive position. Pierce's guard stepped forward threateningly, reaching for a weapon. Without hesitation, Ranger lunged fiercely, driving the guard backward with powerful jaws, snapping mere inches from his throat. Pierce recoiled sharply, eyes widening in shock and sudden fear. Logan shoved Marion and June safely into the truck, heart hammering. Ranger sprang swiftly beside them, growling fiercely towards Pierce, daring him to approach. Logan climbed rapidly behind the wheel, gunning the engine sharply. As they sped away into the darkness, Pierce's silhouette faded slowly in the rearview mirror, a sinister figure watching silently. Logan's breath finally steadied, pulse slowing gradually. The immediate danger had passed, but he knew Pierce wouldn't relent easily. June leaned weakly against Marion, pale and feverish, but her eyes lifted slowly to meet Logan's gaze. "Daddy," she whispered faintly, "will we be safe now?" Logan reached back gently, touching her small hand reassuringly, voice steady despite lingering fear. "I promise, sweetheart, I'll protect you, no matter what." Ahead lay Dr. Ezra Cole's isolated cabin, their best and possibly only hope for June's survival. Logan's eyes hardened with resolve. Whatever came next, he would face head-on. Nothing would stop him from saving his daughter. The truck's headlights sliced desperately through the thickening darkness, illuminating only small patches of the winding forest road ahead. Logan gripped the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white, his jaw set firm, teeth clenched against the rising fear within him. Beside him, Marion cradled June, murmuring softly, trying vainly to soothe her. Ranger, vigilant as ever, sat rigidly in the back seat, amber eyes gleaming sharply in the darkness, alert to every passing shadow. June's shallow breaths grew labored, each exhale punctuated by a faint, painful whimper that twisted Logan's heart tighter. Her once lively hazel eyes were now glassy and fever-bright, strands of her honey-blonde hair plastered damply to her pale forehead. As Logan glanced back anxiously, a disturbing sight made his chest tighten painfully. Tiny droplets of crimson fluid seeped gently from the pores on June's delicate forearms, staining her skin like an unnatural dew. "Faster, Logan, she's burning up," Marion pleaded softly, voice trembling with anxiety and guilt. Logan accelerated sharply, tires kicking up gravel, the vehicle skidding precariously around a tight curve. Ezra Cole's isolated research station appeared suddenly through the trees, its silhouette looming against the night, windows casting faint, reassuring lamplight onto the overgrown yard. Logan stopped abruptly, leaping from the vehicle, carrying June tenderly, her frail body radiating heat against his chest. Ranger shadowed closely, watchful and protective, his quiet, tense presence offering silent comfort. Ezra met them urgently at the door, his weathered face etched deeply with worry, his dark eyes filled with a resolute determination Logan found reassuring. "Bring her inside," Ezra instructed briskly, gesturing to a worn examination table already prepared in the cramped, cluttered lab. The room was dimly lit, the air thick with the sterile scent of antiseptic mingling strangely with aged wood. Equipment lay scattered vials, microscopes, half-assembled machinery, remnants of the veterinarian's long, solitary career spent quietly researching biological anomalies. Logan gently laid June down, her tiny body now shivering uncontrollably, sweat mingling with the strange red fluid staining her skin. Ezra swiftly moved to her side, carefully checking vital signs, pressing fingers gently to her flushed forehead, frowning deeply. Marion stood nervously aside, twisting her thin hands anxiously, guilt and helplessness overwhelming her slight frame. "Ezra, what's happening to her?" Logan demanded sharply, desperation cracking through his disciplined calm. Ezra's eyes darkened gravely, pausing for a tense moment before speaking softly, voice laden with regret. "It's the echo serum. June's genetic reaction has spiraled out of control. Pierce never warned anyone of the true dangers." Ezra hesitated, pain shadowing his expression deeply. "Logan, this serum, it wasn't designed originally for children. It was first tested on soldiers. Your wife, Sarah, she was one of them." Logan froze, breath catching painfully, stunned into silence. Sarah's face filled his mind, her vibrant green eyes always bright with laughter, fiery auburn hair cascading softly over her shoulders, her tall, graceful figure brimming with life. Sarah, who had died mysteriously years ago while he was deployed, her sudden death officially declared a tragic accident. Now the cruel truth fell upon him heavily, crushingly. Sarah had been deliberately injected with echo serum, part of a twisted experiment meant to create immunity in soldiers, a secret so dark it shattered everything Logan believed. Marion stared at Ezra in shock, hands covering her mouth, horrified by this revelation. "My sister Sarah, she never spoke of it." Ezra nodded slowly, eyes heavy with remorse. "She couldn't. They forced secrecy. Sarah reacted poorly to the serum but lived long enough to have June. Unfortunately, echo serum's effects lingered genetically. June inherited it, but only partially, making her reaction dangerously unpredictable." Logan shook off his shock, forcing himself back to the crisis at hand. "Then how do we save her?" Ezra moved quickly, gathering vials, adjusting a syringe, voice strained but decisive. "June's system is at its breaking point. Her body is trying to reject the echo serum violently, damaging her internally. She needs a pure source of the original genetic marker to stabilize her, someone genetically compatible." Marion's voice quivered anxiously, eyes wide with urgency. But Sarah is gone. What can we do? Ezra turned solemnly toward Logan, eyes intense with grave certainty. June needs your blood, Logan. Your DNA carries the missing half of her echogenetic profile, passed partially from Sarah, partially from you. Your biological compatibility is her only chance. Logan hesitated for only an instant, determination and fear warring fiercely within him, then nodded firmly. Do whatever you must. Ezra immediately prepped the transfusion equipment, extracting Logan's blood efficiently yet carefully. Logan sat tense, gaze locked intently on June's small, fragile form. As his blood began flowing slowly into her veins, June whimpered faintly, her body trembling weakly. Ranger shifted anxiously, whining softly, sensing June's distress. Outside, a sudden rumble of tires on gravel echoed ominously through the stillness. Ezra stiffened sharply, eyes narrowing warily. Pierce, he's tracked us here. Marion, lock the doors quickly. Marion hurried nervously toward the doors, bolting them securely, face pale with terror. Logan rose slowly, weak from the transfusion but fiercely determined, stepping protectively between June and the doorway, fists clenched tightly. Pierce appeared outside, tall figure starkly illuminated by harsh headlights, his cold eyes fixed unwaveringly upon the cabin. Behind him, armed men gathered silently, Echo Line operatives, disciplined and ruthless. Pierce's voice, amplified eerily through a megaphone, cut sharply through the tense night air. Sergeant Hartley, surrender June immediately. This can end peacefully. Logan's jaw tightened dangerously, voice low with cold defiance. You'll never touch her again, Pierce. Pierce sighed theatrically, voice dripping calculated regret. Very well. Remember, Sergeant, you chose this. Suddenly, loud crashes shook the cabin as operatives began breaking down doors and windows, invading swiftly, guns drawn. Ranger lunged fiercely, teeth snapping viciously at the nearest attacker, fur bristling aggressively. Chaos erupted violently around them, furniture overturned, glass shattering loudly. Logan fought back desperately, every muscle straining fiercely, protecting June with ferocious determination despite his weakened state. Amidst the fighting, Ezra worked frantically, carefully monitoring the transfusion, sweat streaming down his pale face. She needs more time, he shouted urgently over the noise. Logan nodded grimly, holding attackers at bay desperately, Ranger's fierce loyalty defending them valiantly. Marion crouched terrified nearby, shielding June's fragile body. Finally, as sirens wailed, distantly local authorities arriving after Ezra's urgent, discreet call, Pierce, sensing defeat, retreated swiftly, eyes blazing with frustrated anger. Operatives scattered quickly into darkness, leaving the cabin eerily silent again, the destruction evident in every shattered surface. June lay still, breathing slowly, stabilizing, her skin color gradually returning to normal, the strange crimson fluid dissipating gently. Ezra sighed deeply, visibly relieved. It's working, she's stabilizing. Logan knelt beside June, exhaustion washing over him as immense relief flooded through every fiber of his being. Ranger nudged June softly, whining gently, relieved and protective. Marion wept softly, overwhelmed by guilt, yet grateful June survived. June's eyes fluttered open slowly, focusing weakly on Logan's face, whispering faintly, "Daddy, is it over?" Logan held her small hand firmly, eyes shining softly with fierce tenderness and unyielding resolve. Almost, sweetheart. Almost. Outside, the sirens grew louder, flashing lights approaching swiftly through the darkened forest. Logan exhaled slowly, gathering strength for the final confrontation ahead, the reckoning with Pierce, and the truth about Sarah, now impossible to ignore. One thing was clear. The battle wasn't finished yet, but June had survived this terrifying night, giving Logan hope for the fierce fight yet to come. Night had fully enveloped Ezra Cole's small research cabin, now illuminated only by faint lantern light and the weak flicker of medical monitors hastily rigged beside June's bed. Logan sat in silence, exhaustion pressing heavily on his broad shoulders, the transfusion line drawing blood directly from his veins into his daughter's fragile body. Ezra worked meticulously, hands trembling slightly from fatigue, checking dials and adjusting tubes, his eyes darkened by a weight of responsibility. Marion lingered quietly in the corner, guilt and sorrow marking her pale face, her eyes never leaving June's shallow breathing form. Beside the door, Ranger lay alert yet weary, his amber eyes sharply fixed on the darkness beyond the window. His fur was matted slightly from the earlier fight, dried blood crusting on a small gash along his flank. Despite his injuries, his loyal vigilance never wavered, a reassuring presence in the tense silence of the cabin. A sudden growl rumbled deep within Ranger's throat, startling Logan to immediate alertness. Ezra glanced up sharply, brows furrowing with concern. Outside, gravel crunched softly under approaching footsteps. A cold tension filled the air as Ranger rose swiftly, fur bristling, muscles tensed defensively, his low growl vibrating menacingly through the room. The cabin door creaked slowly open, revealing a tall figure silhouetted by moonlight. The intruder wore a dark tactical suit and a sleek black mask obscuring his features, but his bearing was instantly recognizable, commanding, precise, dangerous. Logan's jaw tightened fiercely, pulse quickening. It was Echo Line's elusive leader, known only by reputation and dark whispers, Jonathan Corbin. Corbin stepped smoothly into the cabin, gaze coolly assessing the room before settling finally on June. He removed the mask calmly, revealing sharp, aristocratic features. Ice blue eyes, neatly cropped dark hair flecked lightly with silver at the temples, and an expression conveying ruthless confidence. He smiled thinly, a humorless curl of his lips. "You've caused quite a mess, Sergeant Hartley," Corbin remarked quietly, voice cultured, yet devoid of warmth. "Your daughter is invaluable to us, biologically unique. We can help her, but only under our terms." Logan stood slowly, fists clenched, eyes blazing fiercely. "You'll never lay a finger on June again. Your sick experiments end tonight." Corbin raised an eyebrow slightly, unfazed. Such emotional bravado, admirable but pointless. Echo Serum represents progress, progress demands sacrifice. Marion shifted nervously, eyes flickering anxiously between Logan and Corbin, fear etched deeply on her thin, pale face. "Please?" "You promised no harm." Corbin dismissed her with a brief, contemptuous glance, voice sharp and cutting. "Promises are easily discarded, Marion. Weakness serves no purpose." Oh. Logan moved protectively between Corbin and June, determination etched deeply into his weary features. Ezra silently retrieved a small vial from a nearby table, carefully stepping back unnoticed, eyes alert, watching Logan intently. Corbin stepped forward confidently, reaching calmly toward June. "We're taking the girl." Instantly, Ranger lunged ferociously, teeth snapping violently mere inches from Corbin's outstretched hand. Corbin recoiled sharply, eyes widening briefly in genuine shock, stumbling backward against a table. Ranger advanced menacingly, growling deeply, fiercely protective despite his wounded condition. In that instant, Logan spotted the syringe Ezra discreetly slid toward him. Recognizing the opportunity, he grasped it tightly, filled partially with June's own altered blood, containing the unstable Echo Serum. Corbin straightened quickly, regaining cold composure, eyes narrowing dangerously at Logan. "Call your dog off, Sergeant. This ends now." Logan advanced resolutely, voice low and chilling. "You're right, Corbin. It does end here." Without hesitation, Logan lunged, driving the syringe forcefully into Corbin's neck, pressing the plunger fiercely. Corbin cried out sharply, eyes widening in pain and disbelief, fingers clutching desperately at the needle lodged deeply in his flesh. Corbin staggered back, gasping, veins darkening visibly along his skin as Echo Serum surged violently through his system. He crumpled to the floor, limbs convulsing, eyes glazing over, agony distorting his refined features. Logan watched dispassionately as Corbin's struggles gradually ceased, the man who had orchestrated so much suffering, silenced permanently by his own creation. Ezra exhaled shakily, relief mingling with horror. "It's over," he murmured softly, voice heavy with weary acceptance. Logan moved swiftly, determination hardening his features. "Not yet. Ezra, take Marion and June outside immediately." Marion glanced fearfully at Logan but obeyed, gently lifting June's unconscious form, carrying her carefully out into the cool night air. Ranger, though weakened, stayed loyally by Logan's side, eyes fixed trustingly on his companion. Logan quickly overturned shelves, shattering vials, dismantling sensitive equipment, destroying every trace of Echo Serum research. The laboratory descended swiftly into chaos, flames igniting from spilled chemicals, consuming swiftly the secrets Echo Line had tried desperately to hide. Logan emerged finally into the moonlit night, breathing heavily, face illuminated starkly by the growing fire behind him. Distant sirens wailed faintly, local authorities converging on the burning laboratory, but Logan's mind remained sharply focused only on his daughter. June lay quietly, her breathing slow but steady, cheeks flushed lightly now with healthier color, no longer tinged with Echo's sinister red. Ezra checked her vitals gently, nodding reassuringly. "She'll survive, Logan," Ezra whispered tiredly, eyes glistening softly with relief. "Your cells stabilized her. She's free of Echo now." Logan knelt slowly beside June, brushing tender fingers gently over her pale forehead. June's eyes flickered weakly open, focusing softly on Logan's weary face. "Daddy," she murmured faintly, small fingers curling gently around Logan's strong hand. "Is the bad man gone?" Logan smiled faintly, eyes shining softly with deep, aching tenderness. "He's gone, sweetheart. It's over." Ranger moved closer, laying quietly beside June, head resting gently against her small body, breathing slow and calming. Logan gently stroked the dog's fur, grateful beyond words for the animal's unwavering bravery and devotion. Marion stood quietly apart, tears spilling silently down her pale cheeks, overwhelmed by guilt, sorrow, and relief. Ezra gently placed a reassuring hand on her trembling shoulder, offering quiet solace. In the days that followed, Logan refused to hand Echo Line's research over to authorities. Instead, he quietly and anonymously forwarded all documents, video evidence, and damning files directly to trusted journalists. Within weeks, Echo Line's atrocities filled the headlines, publicly condemned, dismantled by swift public outrage and federal intervention. Pierce and Corbin's legacy of cruelty collapsed into shameful ruin. Logan quietly loaded the truck weeks later, June smiling softly at his side, Ranger healed and energetic, bounding playfully around them. Ezra watched silently, offering a final, respectful nod of farewell. Marion stood uncertainly, regretful yet grateful, eyes shimmering softly with quiet hope for redemption. Logan and June drove slowly from Elkhorn, leaving behind only bitter memories and painful shadows. Eventually, they arrived at an abandoned military base deep within quiet countryside, surrounded only by rolling green fields, distant mountains, and peaceful silence. The old barracks felt comfortingly familiar to Logan, a quiet refuge after endless turmoil. That first quiet evening, Logan sat silently outside, June nestled gently at his side, Ranger curled protectively at their feet. June gazed quietly upward, eyes wide with peaceful wonder, finally free from nightmares and pain. "Daddy," she whispered softly, small voice filled with innocent curiosity. "What happens now?" Logan smiled gently, heart swelling with fierce love and quiet relief. "Now we rest, sweetheart," he murmured softly, gently kissing June's forehead. "It's finally time to heal." Under a silent canopy of peaceful stars, Logan Hartley closed his eyes, drawing strength from the soft breathing of his daughter beside him. The scars of the past remained, deep and painful, but the echoes of suffering gradually faded, replaced finally by quiet peace, a red echo slowly replaced by silence, love, and hope. The story of Logan, June, and Ranger reminds us that love, courage, and faith can overcome even the darkest trials. In our daily lives, we might not face battles like Logan, but we all encounter moments where protecting the ones we cherish means putting their needs above our own. Let's remember to always stand strong, have faith, and treasure our families, for they are the greatest blessing God has given us. If this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd be deeply grateful if you subscribe to our channel and help spread these powerful messages of hope and love. May God bless and protect you and your loved ones every day. Comment Amen if you believe in the strength of faith, love, and family. Amen.